to say a few words because it's difficult to explain what I feel. We have been invited to Boise, Idaho. Okay, Boise, Idaho. What does it mean? Another city to visit. And then we come here, and I can't tell you what I feel. It's overwhelming, this city, what you did here. It's so wonderful. It's so incredibly wonderful. I can only say Anna, and Margot, and Edith. If you could see that, I can only say thank you so very much. I love this city now. I love you all now. It's overwhelming. Gerti, my wife. I have never thought that something like that, I could see something like that. We've been to so many cities. We have seen so many places and honors for Anna as well. But this here, I embrace you all. My love goes out to Boise, Idaho, and will stay that way. And I will report this all to my friends in Basel. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's, as I said before, it's so moving to be here. Gerti, my wife, and I, we have visited many places, but this is not a place. This is different. This is, I don't know what to call it, a wonderful city with a wonderful population, with a wonderful plan that has been filled out here. We're so moved. I can only thank all of you for what you have done here and what you think and what you present in this city. It's an example for the whole world. Well, Gerti and I want to read you some of our family history book. The Diary of Anne Frank, I think you found it. Anne wrote on the 30th of June, 1944. Here, we've heard from Basel that Bernd played the part of the innkeeper in Minna von Barnhelm. He has artistic leanings, says mother. Well, Bernd, that's me. Why Bernd? Well, my real first name is Bernard, but when I was born, my brother said Buddy. That was it. That was it for my life long. I was born in Frankfurt as well, like Anne. We had a wonderful time as long as Frankfurt was free. We played together, everything was wonderful. And then I had the life-saving luck that my father became representative of a German firm in Switzerland before Hitler took power. So we were able to leave Germany in good time. We moved to Basel, Switzerland, and that probably saved my life. The Frank family stayed there, not knowing what would happen. And when Hitler took power, and we Jews were immediately called Untermenschen, underhuman. We were called vermin as well. Won't believe it, but that's what it was. Margot, who was always the best in school, the first day it was said, Margot, back. The school children, the Jewish children, were hit by the teachers. One teacher said to a friend of Margot, Jews are dirty from birth on. Things like that happened all the time. Otto still stayed in Frankfurt, hoping that it'll pass soon. But when it did not pass, and when the SA, Hitler's stormtroopers, marched in front of Otto's house, singing, wenn's Judenblut vom Messer spritzt, dann geht's noch mal so gut. When the Jewish blood drips off the knife, everything goes better. That was a song by the SA. And then Otto knew, now we have to leave. Now, why didn't he come to Switzerland? Because he worked as a young man already once in Amsterdam. He loved the city is beautiful. Not knowing what would happen, my father was able to arrange the same representative that my father had in Basel, Switzerland. He arranged it for Otto Frank in Holland. The family moved there, and everything went well first. The kids went to school, Anne and Margot went to school, they learned Dutch. They had a wonderful time, they loved it. In their vacations, they came always to us, to Switzerland. Anne and I, Margot, we played together when we were children, either in Basel, Switzerland, or up in the mountains in Engadin, where a relative, distant relative of ours had a villa, and she invited us every year to spend our vacations there. Anne and I played hide and seek. I was getting mad every time as Anne because she found places to hide where I could never find her. Yeah, but we had a good time and all went well until that ominous day in 1942 when the German army invaded Holland. And then they could not come anymore. But Anne was already a writer when she was a child. When she was small, she wrote to us every week at least one letter. What she did, what happened. She inherited it from the Frank family. The Frank family was always a writing family. You know, at those times there was no television, there was no computer. One wrote letters and poems. Our grandmother, Alice Frank, she wrote the most wonderful letters, the most wonderful poems. Some are here in the book. Well, we want to read a few things from the book to you now. Gerti, could you come? And we start with us in Basel, Switzerland, not knowing what happened to our beloved ones in Holland. Willst du anfangen da?
No, das machst du. Du fängst an.
Germany capitulated on May 8, 1945. Japan only September 2nd, after the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But in Europe, the war, which had cost roughly 60 million lives worldwide and changed the map of Europe for a long time to come, ended on May 8th. Obviously, a sense of relief was great, including in Switzerland. At last, people would be able to hear news of their relatives again, the sons, the brothers, the uncles, the cousins. Bambi?
A long period of waiting began. Can't you call Amsterdam? Alice asked every day. Alice is the grandmother of Annes and Buddy. And every day, Leni, her daughter, and Erich, her husband, explained to her that it wasn't yet possible. There were no connection yet, neither by telephone nor by telegraph. You know how it is after a war, Leni said. It can take months before the railways are running again, before the post office is working.
Weeks went by, and the anxiety and fear in Herbstgasse, this is the place where we live, grew stronger. The first pictures of the mounds of corpses traveled around the world, and the weekly newsreels at the movies showed spectral, starved men and women who staggered and collapsed after their liberation and were often in such a wretched condition that they could not be saved. Then the names, Dachau, Bergen-Belsen, Auschwitz, Treblinka, Majdanek, Belzec, Sobibor, and the rumors passing by word of mouth of unimaginable numbers of millions, 2 million, 3 million murdered, they said, maybe even more. It struck you speechless. They didn't repeat these numbers at home trying to keep the information vague in front of Alice and Grandma Ida. What they were hearing on the radio was bad enough. There was no need to trouble them any further. And the truth was, there were so many people whose whereabouts were unknown. Otto and his family were no doubt somewhere in the Netherlands. But where was Paul, Ida's son and Eric's brother? No one knew what happened to him after Switzerland had refused all his requests for an entry permit, even after Eric had guaranteed Paul's journey onwards to Bolivia. That was a very tragic thing. Paul, the brother of my father, was in Germany. He was arrested, but he had a visa to go to Bolivia. But he could not go directly to Bolivia. He would have to gone through a neutral land. And my father applied to the police in Switzerland that Paul could come to us to continue to Bolivia. And the Swiss authorities said, no, it's not granted that he's going to leave Switzerland again. And Paul was murdered in Auschwitz. That's one life that the Swiss have to talk for. The pictures I saw and that filled Leni and Eric with horror came mostly from Germany, from Bergen-Belsen, a camp in the Lüneburger Heath that had been liberated by the British, and Dachau, which the Americans had liberated. But people were saying that the worst things had happened far in the east, and news from there, from the Russian zone, only trickled out. Who could know where Paul was, where they had taken him? Leni and Eric talked about it as little as possible. What would be the point of frightening Ida and Alice, two old women, more than necessary? But you could sense their anxiety and concern. It filled the house and left everyone silent and afraid.
Then, in late May, there was finally a sign of life from Otto. A telegram addressed to Gerti Elias, Herbstgasse 11 in Basel. Imperia, the housemaid, who knew, of course, how anxious the family was for news, took the telegram right to Leni at her store. That night, they sat around the table, happy and relieved, even if they couldn't understand why the telegram had come from Marseille.
Arrivé, bonne santé, Marseille, partons Paris, baiser Otto Frank. Arrived in Marseille, good health, leaving for Paris, kisses Otto Frank.
There was no mention of Edith and the children, but Alice repeated over and over again, it says, Pardon Paris, we are leaving for Paris. Who else could it be besides Edith and the children? They are alive, they are fine, but why they are going to Paris? For the first time in weeks, they were glad at heart. Even Grandma Ida saw it as a good omen for her own son. She would definitely hear from Paul any day now. It took 4 weeks for a letter to arrive from Otto, and when it did, it shattered their sense of relief in an instant. They felt as though the ground had been yanked out from under their feet. They sat at the table in the dining room, as usual, and read out loud to each other the letter that Otto had written on May 15th, 1944, 45, on the New Zealand steamship Monowai that was bringing him from Odessa to Marseille.
Dear Mum, dear everyone, tomorrow we will be in Marseille, and then this letter will hopefully be forwarded to you. I assume I'll be able to telegraph right away too, so that you'll know that I've returned safe. We sailed from Odessa. Did you get my news from Katowice and Czarnowitz? No, we didn't. For now, we don't know yet if we can go back to Holland or if we will have to go to England for a while. For me, the main thing is that we got out of Russia, and so we can be reunited with our loved ones. You have no idea how much I long to see you again. All my hopes are for the children. I cling to the firm belief that they are still alive and that we will be together soon. They will hardly expect their Pim, children called their father Pim, that their Pim is still alive. They experience too much, and they must know how everything was in the Auschwitz extermination camp where I was. It's a miracle I survived. I don't want to write about it for now. Sadly, the strain was too much for Edith. She died of malnutrition in the hospital January 6, 1945. Her body could no longer withstand the flu. I heard this from a woman I met in Katowice after the liberation. It was not just like that. When Margot and Anne were torn away from their mother Edith to be transported to the other concentration camp Bergen-Belsen, Edith took the little bit of bread that she got and put it in her straw mattress to save for the children if they would come back. As the children did not come back, Edith died of starvation. The closer we get to home, the greater our impatience to hear from our loved ones. Everything that's happened the past few years, until our arrest, I don't know exactly what caused it even now. At least we still had contact with each other. I don't know what's happened since then. Kugler and Kleiman, and especially Miep and her husband, and Beb Voskoil provided us with everything for 2 whole years with incomparable devotion and sacrifice, despite all the danger. I can't even begin to describe it. How will I ever be able to repay everything they did? But what has happened since then? To them, to you, to Robert, that is his elder brother who was able to move to London. Are you in touch with Julius and Walter? All our possessions are gone. Not a pin left. The Germans stole everything. Not a photo, letter, or document remains. And there was Otto mistaken, because a box with photographs the Gestapo did not interest, and that we got back. Financially, we are fine in the past few years. I earned good money and saved it. Now it's all gone. But I don't think about that. We have lived through so much to worry about that kind of thing. Only the children matter, the children. I hope to get news from you immediately. Maybe you've already heard news about the girls. What are your boys doing and all the various friends? Is Herbie still with you? What about Paul? Where's Helen? But I can't list everyone I want to hear about. I'm writing to Robert directly. I don't know if the letter will reach his old address. London suffered a lot too, of course. I will stay with the Dutch, since aside from a tattooed number on my arm, I have no paper. I'll only be able to try to come to you later. Anyway, the main thing is that we are in contact. We hope to see you soon. With warmest greetings and kisses and love, Otto. I must say that the prisoners in the concentration camps, they lost their identities. They just had numbers on their arms tattooed. They were only numbers, no names.
Kannst dich hinsetzen. Only then did Alice and the others realize that the whole family had been at Auschwitz, a word they shuddered to hear and had avoided saying out loud during the entire period of uncertainty. Auschwitz, the concentration camp in Poland, that was to become a synonym for the monstrous actions of the Third Reich as a whole. The next morning, Alice sent another postcard to Kleiman to Amsterdam and asked him if he knew where Otto was staying. And again, Leni took the card to the post office. It took a while before the letter they were craving arrived. Otto had written it on June 8, 1945.
Dear Mum, dear everyone, Mother's card dated 5th May arrived at Mr. Kleiman's today. It made me very happy to see her handwriting. At last we are in contact again. Since my various letters haven't arrived here yet, I don't know what reached you there, but I assume that my telegram from Marseille arrived. I heard here only that there was no more contact with you after June 44, so you must have been absolutely thunderstruck when you received the telegram. I'm writing this here in my office. It's all like a bad dream. I cannot find my bearings in reality yet. I don't want to write much either, so here is a quick summary. On July 6, 1942, it was July 5th, I found out that after Auschwitz, Otto did not remember the exact dates anymore. On July 5th, 1942, Margot received a summons from the Gestapo to report for her transport to Germany. I didn't want to let her go, of course, so we decided to disappear. You probably gathered from the last lines I sent you that I had already prepared something. We stayed hidden up in the attic of the Opekta building, where we also had the 3 Van Pels and later Dr. Pfeffer, the dentist, join us. So there were 8 of us, and our people devotedly looked after us despite all the danger involved. We never once went outside. Nevertheless, we were apparently betrayed because the Gestapo came and arrested us in July 44. It was August 44. And after a month in the Dutch camp, sent us to the Auschwitz extermination camp in Poland. I won't go into details here. The last time I saw Edith and the children was on September 5th in Birkenau, and the children, from what I've heard from other people, must have been sent to work in Germany or Czechoslovakia in October. I don't know where they are, and I never stopped thinking about them. In November 44, I was so weak from work and lack of food that with the help of a Dutch doctor, I was admitted to the hospital. It was not like that. He wrote this not to worry his old mother. In reality, an SS man wanted to have some fun and came up to Otto and beat him to the ground. Otto went then to his barracks and laid down on his cot and didn't want to live anymore. But his friend said, Otto, you have to get up, otherwise you're lost. And they went to the sick barracks and they got a Dutch doctor who came over to Otto and said, Otto, tomorrow you come to the hospital, I will take care of you. Otto did this, and this saved his life for the first time. It was another time, too, that he was in danger. And I regained my strength there until the Russians liberated us on January 27, 1945. On the 26th, we were taken out by the SS to be killed. That's the second time that Otto was saved. He was already put against the wall. The SS with their guns were already there when another car came with SS men who shouted to the execution commando, let go, weg, weg, die Russen kommen, the Russians are coming. Otto was saved again. Whoever could walk had been taken by the Germans before the 16th. Now we had enough food. From there in early March it was Katowice, Czernowitz, and eventually Odessa in stages, then through the Dardanelles to Marseille and direct to Holland. The initial plan to send us to Paris was not carried out. Edith had it harder, apparently. I heard that she lost more and more weight, suffered greatly from being separated from the children, and passed away of exhaustion on January 6th. I'm alone. I surely don't need to say more. I found my old friends again here. Kleiman was in jail and in camp for 7 weeks. Kugler was released after less than 2 weeks, all because of us. The company still exists, obviously. There are no raw materials, but there is a foundation for rebuilding. Everything in our home was stolen. I had stored a few things in other places, but not much. I have no hat, no raincoat, no watch, no shoes, except what other people have loaned me. And it's impossible to get anything here either. There's nothing in the stores. I'm living with Miep geese. I have money for now, since I don't need much. I want so badly to be with you all. Please write me with the boy's address. That's my brother and me. I'm waiting to hear from you about all the many things we haven't been able to hear about for so long. I also wrote only a short letter to Robert. I'm unable to write in more details. I'm not back to normal yet. I mean that I haven't been able to regain my equilibrium. Yet physically, I'm doing fine. Enough for today. It's all still too upsetting for me. The main thing is that the children turn up again. I have to be patient. Write soon. Many hugs and kisses. Yours, Otto. And then Otto went to the railway station in Amsterdam every day and asked people who came back from the east that he saw they were prisoners or inmates of concentration camps. He asked them, did anyone see my children, Margot, Anne Frank? Did anyone know my children, Margot, Anne Frank? He did that for 1 month. And after 1 month, there was a poster on a wall in a station with names on it. And there was Frank Margot, Frank Anne, with 2 crosses behind. He then found a lady in another town in Holland who was with the girls the last weeks in the concentration camp of Bergen-Belsen, and she wrote an eyewitness report about the last weeks of the girls.
After we had something to eat, we found a faucet where we could wash up a little, which we hadn't been able to do since Auschwitz. We wrapped ourselves in our blankets again. Then we saw 2 thin, bald figures that looked like freezing baby birds. We fell into each other's arms and cried. It was Margot and Anne Frank. We asked them about their mother. Anne said, selected. Then the 4 of us went past the barracks to the parade ground. We saw several big tents there. They looked like circus tents. We were assigned to one of them and lay down on the straw. We cuddled up with each other under our blankets. The first few days were peaceful. We slept a lot. Then it started to rain. Even under our blankets, we could not get warm. And there were the lice too. Then we were called up to work. We had to tear the soles off from old shoes. For that we got some soup and a little piece of bread. Soon our hands started to bleed and got infected. Anne and I had to stop first. Jeannie and Margot were able to work longer. After a few days, heavy winter storms started. Then the tents couldn't withstand the storms and fell apart. There were wounded people. We were herded into a shed where rugs and old shoes and other things like that were stored. Anne asked, why do you want us to live like animals? Jeannie answered, because they are man-eating wild animals themselves. One day in December, we received a tiny piece of cheese and some jam. The SS and the female guards went away to celebrate. It was Christmas. We were 3 pairs of sisters, us, Margot and Anne Frank, and the Daniel sisters. We wanted to celebrate St. Nicholas Day, Hanukkah, and Christmas in our own way. Jeannie had met some Hungarian girls who worked in the SS kitchen. With their help, we got 2 handfuls of potato peels. Anne managed to get a bolt of a stick of celery. The Daniel sisters found some red beets. I sang and danced for some guards and got a handful of sauerkraut. We had saved our bread, and with all this together, we made a surprise present for the others. We roasted the potato peels and quietly sang Dutch and Yiddish songs and imagined what we would do if we ever got home. Anne's idea was, then we'll have a party a celebratory meal at Dicker and Tees. This is one of Amsterdam's most expensive restaurants. For a little while, we were almost happy. Then Jeannie and I were assigned to another barrack. We asked Anne and Margot to come with us, but Margot had terrible diarrhea and had to stay in the old barrack because of the risk of stomach typhus. Anne took care of her as well as she could. We visited them during the next few weeks, and now and then we were able to bring them something to eat. It must have been March when we went to see them again. The snow had melted, but they weren't in the barrack anymore. We found them in the sick house. We told them they mustn't stay there because whenever you gave up hope, the end was near. Anne said, "Here we can both lie on one bank. We are together and it's peaceful." Margot could only whisper. She had high fever. The next day we went to them to visit them again. Margot had fallen out of the bank and was barely conscious. Anne had a fever too. She was friendly and sweet. She said, "Margot will sleep well, and when she sleeps, I won't need to get up again." A few days later, we found their bank empty. We knew what that meant. We found them behind the barrack, wrapped their thin bodies in a blanket, and carried them to a mass grave. That was all we could do for them.
Margot and Anne were dead. They presumably died in late March 1945 in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp on the Lüneburg Heath. When British soldiers liberated the camp on April 15, 1945, they found approximately 60,000 emaciated prisoners. The British military doctor who was later put in charge of the rescue and rehabilitation efforts described the situation like this: "The conditions in the camp were really indescribable. No description nor photograph could really bring home the horrors. There were various sizes of piles of corpses lying on all over the camp. The huts were filled absolutely to overflowing with prisoners in every state of emaciation and disease. The absolute overcrowding and utterly insufficient food and supplies in the camp had taken the lives of more than 35,000 people between January and mid-April 1945 alone, including Margot and Anne Frank." The last sign of life I got from Anne was her letter to my 17th birthday. That was about a month before they went into hiding. So let's close this reading, not with the very sad letters, with another one. "Dear Bernd," she called me Bernd because my real name is Bernard. She called me Bernd. "Many happy returns on your birthday." All birthday letters start like that. "And many more to come. I hope you're all healthy like we are. We had 5 days off for Pentecost. That was great, and I've been very busy. I don't get home before 10 at night, but usually a boy walks me home. How is it going with the girl you sent us a photo? Do write and tell me. I'm very interested in things like that. Margot has a boyfriend too, but he is even younger than mine." This epistle didn't turn out very long, but I also don't have any time more to write since I'm going with Father to a film showing at some friends. Best wishes to everyone. Write me back, Anne.
It was a letter from another world, another era. Also, only 4 years separated then and now. Anne had written him shortly before her own 13th birthday, and he, Woody, was turning 17. Write me back, she wrote. And now he never could. He folded the letter and placed it back in the little folder where he kept all his important papers.
That's about what we wanted to read to you. We gladly will answer questions you might have.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we shall read a little poem from his mother when she was 10 years old.
Yes, we don't want to end it so sadly because the Frank family was always a writing family, making poems and things like that. Anne inherited this. She inherited the pleasure to write. And in there are letters from our grandmother Alice, for instance, and poems from Alice. Wonderful poems. Unfortunately, the translation from German is good, but it's, of course, in German it's even better. But
But it is a very good translation, I think.
which one is that from?
This is from your mother.
Leni.
From Leni, yeah.
When she was?
When she was 10 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you must tell that the family, her mother was in Italy on vacation.
Her parents were there,
Yeah.
yes. Dear Mom, for your postcard, a great big thank from your daughter, Leni Frank. I was happy to get a card from you and surprised that Daddy made rhymes too. He did it well. He deserves high praise. I think that it's only a few days before you are back. Then you can tell me if it was nice in Italy. It's already getting late at night. Soon time for Leni to go right to her bed, to her soft bed and fluffy pillow too. And there she'll dream sweet dreams of you. Hugs and kisses, Dad and Mom, from your little daughter here at home.